Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
For the first time since Friday night's failed coup to overthrow him, President Erdogan has travelled to the capital Ankara to chair a meeting of the National Security Council. He's ordered thousands of arrests and tens of thousands of dismissals in a purge of those he considers disloyal across the military, law enforcement, the judiciary and education sectors, and even the sports ministry has seen sackings. Our international editor, Lindsay Hilsum, joins us from the Turkish capital. Lindsay, what do you expect from President Erdogan next?
Well, Jackie, everybody here is waiting for this announcement. It will probably be some kind of state of emergency, but we don't know exactly what that means. The National Security Council meeting that you mentioned lasted for 5 hours, and the full cabinet is meeting now. That could go on late into the night. Some people say that the state of emergency might last for 6 months, but again, we don't yet know. It could be giving the police more powers to stop and search people, to search houses without a warrant. Whatever it is, it's going to be something that shores up President Erdogan's power. He's already today closed down 626 educational establishments. Every day, more and more civil servants are being suspended. That's what we're reporting on today. Some pictures later in this piece viewers may find distressing. Today, police buses brought more soldiers to court in Istanbul. 99 generals have been charged in connection with the coup attempt, but some of those arrested are just conscripts. Their relatives look through the bars, hoping for mercy, but the authorities are punishing not only soldiers, but civilians whom they suspect of links to Fethullah Gulen, the exiled cleric they say was behind the putsch. He denies any involvement. İpek University, a massive modern campus founded by a businessman who, according to the government, is a Gulenist. The authorities already took it over before the coup. All institutions connected to Mr. Gulen are seen as a threat to the state. Today we had to film from a distance. No one there wanted to talk. Deans at all universities have been suspended. Everyone's scared. Outside the education ministry, the founder of the Turkish state, Kemal Atatürk, is memorialized alongside teachers. Civil servants arrived at work today not knowing who will be purged. Maybe those loyal to Atatürk's secular ideals or socialism too.
The government's aim is to transform the education system entirely. I don't think the educators are all Gulenists. Some are union activists, so they want to get rid of them because they're in the opposition. They're accusing them of Gulenism as an excuse.
President Erdogan headed a National Security Council meeting this afternoon, the first time he's been to the capital, Ankara, since the coup attempt. With what many call a witch hunt underway, it's hard to see how the government can keep courts, schools and other institutions functioning, let alone the military and intelligence. Last Friday, people resisted the coup with extraordinary bravery. Saberi Unal tried to stop a tank and lay down between its tracks when it kept going. Miraculously, he survived. He didn't run away, but tried again. This time his arm was crushed. Scores of people rushed to his aid. He said his protest was just for a minute. The real heroes are those who lost their lives. Amongst them were 2 police officers buried in Ankara today. They died defending democracy. The problem is that now, with President Erdogan moving ruthlessly against all enemies, real and perceived, democracy in Turkey is still under threat. One of the measures announced today was that academics are no longer allowed to travel to conferences or workshops or exchanges with other universities. Those who are already abroad are told they must come back. The political prisoners, those military officers, they are not allowed to have lawyers. These are just some of the measures. We're going to see far more to come, I think, after President Erdogan's announcement later tonight.
Lindsay, thanks very much. Well, joining us now from Istanbul is Egemen Bayish, Turkey's former Minister of EU Affairs and chief negotiator in accession talks with the European Union. Mr. Bayish, 50,000 civil servants, teachers, judges, people from the sports ministry. What does this have to do with the attempted coup?
Well, most of these people have been belonging to this secret organization called FETÖ, led by a so-called man of religion who lives in Pennsylvania, United States. This guy has been taking the smart kids of poor families, giving them top-notch education, and then placing them in every institution of the government, and then seeking full loyalty from them, asking them to provide knowledge, intelligence, and use that to infiltrate into the government. We have found out today there was an admission by the chief military aide of our chief of staff who said he had been placing listening devices into the room of the chief of staff of the Turkish military for the last 6 years on a daily basis.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You said yourself in 2012, one journalist imprisoned for their views is too many. Now you have dozens of journalists who've been arrested or suspended, academics told they're not allowed to leave the country. To many people, this looks less like a reasonable response to the coup and more like a politically motivated purge of people who disagree with President Erdogan.
I totally disagree. Most of the people who have been detained in the last 3 days are detained because of their affiliation with the Gülenist terror organization. The detainments of the past, however, had to do with other reasons. Either they belonged to a terrorist organization, or they were sponsoring PKK, or they had actually committed petty crimes. But talking of democracy, if you see behind me, millions of people have gathered for the last 5 nights. Every city of Turkey, not only AK Party supporters, but supporters of the opposition parties from different labor unions, NGOs. This country has been united with the government, with President Erdogan. This is the most democratic country you can see because people are risking their own lives.
You point to one image of Turkey.
You don't see that in many countries.
You point to one image of Turkey there, but since the coup, we've seen conscripted soldiers tied up, half naked, being flogged publicly. There's reports of a mob beheading a soldier, endless parades of people suspected of plotting. Is this the image of Turkey you want to portray?
That you see in the pictures, this picture you're talking about that you see in this, and those soldiers in those pictures have killed hundreds of civilian innocent people. They have bombed our own parliament with our own warplanes that we finance with our own tax money. Those soldiers used heavy armored vehicles to drive on people, to squeeze people, to kill people.
But you talk about democracy.
They have no mercy, they have to be detained in somewhere. There are so many soldiers that were a part of this coup attempt that you have to detain them somewhere, and they are mostly
you have teachers, you have academics being suspended from their job. As I say, is this the image of Turkey you want to portray, a Turkey that wanted to join the EU?
This is definitely not the image that we would like to see, but circumstances force the government and the lawmakers and appliers to take measures to save 79 million citizens of Turkey. This country is situated in a very interesting place. If you look at our neighbors, we are neighbors with Iraq, with Iran, with Syria. We're very close to all the problematic areas of the world. And these guys that have connections with Daesh, with the Islamic State terrorist organization, with other terrorist organizations, have tried to push this country down the hill. And the nation, this Turkish nation, is trying to save the country's democracy.
We have to end it there, but thank you very much for joining us.
I've been getting away with it all